There are moments in life when you feel something shifting inside you, something powerful, something divine, something unexplainable. And you may not realize it, but in those moments, God is preparing you, strengthening you, and placing a shield of light around you. These are not ordinary moments. These are signs. Signs that God is helping you, and signs that Satan is becoming afraid of you before anything in your life shifts on the outside. God begins His work inside you. People often pray for their problems to disappear, for their circumstances to improve, or for their struggles to weaken. But God knows that real change doesn't start around you, it starts within you. So instead of immediately altering your environment, He first transforms your heart. You begin to feel a different kind of strength, quiet, steady, and unshakable. A strength that doesn't come from motivation, but from faith. You start trusting His timing instead of panicking. You start believing that even delays have purpose. Situations that once terrified, you no longer control your emotions. Where there used to be fear, there is now courage. Where there used to be confusion, there is clarity. And where there used to be doubt, there is now certainty that God is guiding you. This inner strengthening is one of the clearest signs that God is helping you, because He prepares your heart for the blessing before He delivers the blessing. He makes you strong enough to receive what you ask for. He makes you patient enough to endure what you prayed about. He builds your character so that when your situation finally changes, you don't collapse, you don't lose focus, and you don't fall into old patterns. Sometimes you may notice that you're still facing the same problems, still dealing with the same challenges, yet somehow you're not breaking the way you used to. You're not stressing the way you used to. You're not losing yourself the way you used to. This is not luck. This is God fortifying your spirit, making you emotionally and spiritually unshakable. Because God knows if He strengthens your heart, no situation can destroy you. If He strengthens your faith, no problem can defeat you. If He strengthens your soul, no enemy can break you. This is why His first step is always internal. He rebuilds your mindset, your patience, your willpower, your calm, your hope. And once your heart is ready, once your spirit is steady, once your connection with Him becomes your foundation, then everything around you begins to shift with divine precision. Shaitan's greatest strategy is not to make you sin. It is to make you stop trying after you sin. He wants you to feel hopeless, unworthy, and distant from God. He wants you to believe that one mistake defines you, that one failure cancels your progress, that one moment of weakness means you can never rise again. But the moment you refuse to give up, the moment you stand back up after falling, that is the moment he becomes afraid of you. Because Satan knows something many people forget today. A believer who keeps returning to God becomes unstoppable. He fears the person who sins but repents. He fears the person who falls but rises stronger. He fears the person who cries to God at night, even after a day of mistakes. He fears the person who struggles internally but refuses to let go of faith. This resilience destroys his influence. Every time you rise from a setback, his grip on you weakens. Every time you ask God for forgiveness with sincerity, your soul becomes cleaner than before. Every time you push yourself to pray, even when you feel unworthy, your heart becomes more protected than it was yesterday. Satan is not afraid of people who never fall. He knows no such people exist. He is afraid of the ones who fall 100 times but stand up 101 times, because their determination becomes a weapon he cannot defeat. A believer who refuses to give up carries something Satan cannot fight, a heart connected to God. And a heart connected to God becomes a force of light that burns through every darkness. Every act of repentance is a spiritual victory. Every attempt to return to righteousness is a blow to his plans. Every moment you choose faith over despair, courage over shame, and hope over guilt, you break the chains he tries to place on your soul. And Shaitan knows that once you master the art of rising, once you recognize the power of God's mercy, once you learn that your mistakes do not define you, only your effort does, then you become the kind of believer he fears the most. One of the clearest signs that God is helping you is when your heart becomes more sensitive, more aware of what is right and what is wrong. This sensitivity is not accidental. It is not something you create on your own. It is a gift, a form of divine light entering your heart, gently guiding you toward the path that elevates your soul. You begin to notice things you used to ignore. You start feeling uneasy about behaviors you once accepted easily. Your conscience becomes louder, more active, more awake. This is not weakness. This is spiritual awakening. God allows your heart to recognize the difference between what pulls you closer to Him and what pulls you away. You start seeing hidden intentions behind actions. You start understanding the consequences of your choices. You start caring about purity, honesty, discipline, faith, and sincerity on a much deeper level. And this awareness is something Satan fears deeply, because a person who can differentiate between truth and deception becomes harder to mislead. When your heart is illuminated, lies lose their power, temptations lose their sweetness, wrong paths lose their attraction. You begin to feel a natural discomfort toward anything that harms your soul. You may feel guilty quicker. You may question your actions more. You may stop yourself before falling into old habits. This is not a burden. This is God pulling you closer by refining your heart. Spiritual awareness makes you stronger, not softer. It sharpens your mind and strengthens your character. It gives you the internal compass to navigate a world filled with distractions and tests. And slowly, you begin choosing better, not because someone is watching, not because you fear punishment, but because your heart naturally gravitates toward goodness. When God guides you, He doesn't always speak through miracles. He speaks through your conscience. He speaks through the shift in your thoughts. He speaks through the uneasiness you feel when you're about to go astray. That inner voice that whispers, "This is not right. You're better than this. You were created for something higher." That is not your mind. That is your soul waking up. And when your soul wakes up, Satan knows he is losing control. Because once you can see the difference between right and wrong clearly, his tricks no longer work the way they used to. His whispers lose their influence. His temptations lose their shine. You become spiritually alert, spiritually protected, and spiritually guided. There comes a phase in your spiritual growth where the things that once pulled you away from God begin to lose their shine. Activities you once enjoyed no longer feel meaningful. People who once influenced you no longer feel aligned with your soul. Habits that once entertained you now feel empty, shallow, and draining. This shift is not random. It is a sign of divine purification taking place inside you. God begins removing the taste of distractions from your heart. He takes away the pleasure of things that harm your soul and replaces it with a longing for things that elevate you. What once felt exciting starts to feel pointless. What once consumed your time begins to feel like a burden. You naturally start disconnecting from anything that dims your spiritual light. This is one of the strongest signs of God's help because He is reshaping your desires. When He wants to guide someone, He doesn't just change their life. He changes what they crave, what they admire, what they chase, what they prioritize. Suddenly, peace feels better than popularity. Silence feels better than noise. Prayer feels better than distraction. Growth feels better than entertainment. And purity feels better than temporary pleasure. And Satan fears this transformation more than anything because his entire strategy depends on distraction. He wants your mind busy, your heart numb, your soul exhausted, and your attention scattered. But when those distractions lose their power, when you no longer fall for the same traps, when your spirit becomes too elevated for his games, he becomes powerless. You begin to notice that certain conversations don't interest you anymore. Certain environments feel spiritually heavy. Certain temptations feel easier to walk away from. Certain habits don't pull you the way they once did. This is because your soul is maturing. You are outgrowing old versions of yourself. God is preparing you for something higher, and your heart is no longer satisfied with what lowers your vibration. You start valuing your time differently. You start valuing your peace differently. You start valuing your faith differently. This detachment is not a loss. It's a divine upgrade. It means God is clearing space in your heart for what truly matters. It means He is removing spiritual noise so you can finally hear Him clearly. It means your soul is stepping into a phase where it seeks depth, truth, and connection rather than distraction, temptation, and emptiness. When you outgrow what once harmed you, it is one of the clearest signs that God's hand is on your life, guiding you, refining you, and elevating you beyond anything Shaitan hoped to keep you trapped in. There are moments in your spiritual journey when prayer shifts from being a routine to becoming a refuge. when you feel your heart softening during prayer, when your mind becomes present, when your soul feels connected to every word you say. This is not an accident. This is one of the most powerful signs that God is pulling you closer to Him. At first, prayer might feel difficult. Your thoughts wander, your heart feels distant, and your words feel empty. But then something begins to change. You start feeling a warmth inside your chest when you raise your hands. You begin to sense a peace that the world cannot give. You find yourself praying not just out of obligation, but out of longing. That shift is God Himself tuning your heart, opening your spiritual senses, and strengthening your connection with Him. Prayer becomes your escape from chaos. Prayer becomes your comfort in pain. Prayer becomes your answer when life confuses you. Prayer becomes your anchor when everything feels unstable. When your prayer begins to feel meaningful, it means your heart is waking up. It means the layers of heaviness, distraction, and spiritual numbness are being lifted. It means your soul is being revived. This is a sign of divine mercy because many people pray with their lips, but only some pray with their hearts. And God is gliding you into that deeper, more intimate state. Satan fears this transformation because prayer is the strongest shield a believer can possess. He knows that a person who finds peace in prayer becomes nearly impossible to break. He knows that a heart connected to God becomes too strong for His whispers, too aware for His traps, too illuminated for His darkness. When your prayers begin to touch your soul, Satan loses his influence over your mind. When your prayers bring you tears, his plans crumble. When your prayers give you strength, his distractions fail. When your prayers cleanse your heart, his temptations weaken. Meaningful prayer changes your entire energy. It softens your heart toward goodness and hardens your heart against evil. It makes you more patient, more grateful, more disciplined, and more spiritually aware. You start looking at life differently. You feel calmer, more protected, more guided, even when nothing in your external circumstances has changed. And this is the beauty of prayer. God changes you before He changes what is around you. He heals your heart before He heals your situation. He strengthens your soul before He strengthens your life. When prayer becomes sweet to you, when it becomes something you look forward to, something you feel, something that touches you deeply, it means God is calling you toward Him with love. Your heart softening in prayer is one of the greatest signs that God is helping you, guiding you, and bringing you closer to Him than ever before. One of the strongest signs that God is working within you is when your reactions start to change. You no longer explode the way you used to. You no longer allow anger to control your words, your decisions, or your peace. Instead, you feel something new inside you, a calmness, a steadiness, a patience that you cannot fully explain. This change is not accidental. It is a sign that God is molding your character and strengthening your spirit. Patience is not weakness. It is not silence. It is not passiveness. Patience is spiritual strength wrapped in self-control. Remember, these signs are not mere coincidences. They are proof of divine guidance. When God is helping you, everything begins to align in ways you may not immediately see. Your heart grows stronger, your faith becomes steadier, your awareness sharper, and your soul more resilient. And every time you rise, stay patient, pray sincerely, choose the right company, or practice consistency, because He cannot overpower a believer protected and guided by God. So hold on to these signs, recognize them in your life. Celebrate the growth, the clarity, the calmness, and the inner strength that is quietly forming within you. Do not underestimate your progress, even if the world around you hasn't changed yet. God is working in the unseen. He is preparing you for victories that are beyond imagination. You are not alone. You are not weak. You are not powerless. Each test you face, each challenge you overcome, each moment you choose God over your own desires. These are moments of divine victory. And the more you embrace this, the stronger your faith becomes, the brighter your light shines, and the more realizes that He has no control over you. So continue walking your path with courage, patience, discipline, and devotion. Remind yourself daily of these signs. Let them inspire you to grow closer to God, to live a life that is guided by faith, and to become the kind of believer that not only triumphs over trials, but becomes a beacon of light for others. Your journey is sacred, your soul is protected, and every step you take toward God is a step that fears. Stand firm, stay strong, and trust in the divine guidance that surrounds you. If you want, I can also compile the entire speech with all 15 key points, expanded into one long, ready-to-use motivational speech for YouTube or public speaking. It would be seamless and powerful from start to finish.